Today it's another beautiful day in Auckland and we're heading to Rainbow's End, Auckland's largest theme park. We've already booked our tickets online, so we're going to walk up and get our bags checked and head on in. The staff are taking particular care to stand back from their guests, and they're getting the guests to open their own bags so they don't touch and just look. Here at the ticketing window, the staff are behind a Perspex screen, and even though they are in a contained office, you can see here PPE is compulsory for staff that are visitor facing at Rainbow's End. Here at the entrance, Rainbow's End usually has lots of different points of entry when they're busy, but because visitor numbers are small, there is just a single gate open behind me. I love how Rainbow's End have adapted the government brand to build in the rainbow colours into the yellow and white stripe. Time to get started. I thought we'd jump in the deep end with that. One of our values at Dexhibit is wear your undies on the outside, which means be brave and do scary things, and we are going to do exactly that with the Fairfall. Oh my gosh! Oh, I can't do it. Come on, Cece, we have to do this.
No, I can't.
You can do it. Look,
No.
It's not that bad. Oh my god. It doesn't look that high from this angle. Here they go. You could do this.
No, I can't.
Imagine the views.
If you do it, Angie, I'll do it.
Rainbow's End have been really clear in their signage that the level 2 COVID-19 rules are in addition to the normal ride rules. We can see that you have to apply hand sanitizer at the entry to each queue, keep to your bubble and stay a metre apart from other bubbles, and don't touch anything that you don't have to. There is yellow markers on the queue wait line areas and really clear sanitisation areas. I really loved how clear their signs are, that you can only sit here if you know the person sitting next to you. It makes it really easy for people to understand what the physical distancing rules are. The log flume, this thing is a classic.
It's a nice way to recover. Yeah.
Yep, still works. Here in New Zealand, there are 3 rules to guests eating on site. They have to have a single server, be spaced out, and be seated. And so here we can see exactly that. There's slightly less tables than there usually would be, some fantastic signage, and really clear procedures when you're buying food. I got a hot dog.
Oh, it goes upside down first.
Yeah, no, I can't do that one.
wherever they have a sign about being closed, they also talk about what is open. The arcade is open, but we can see it's only taking card play only, no cash. Rainbow's End have provided redemption cards to go cashless and contactless. One bubble in, one bubble out means that there can be only one family or household in this area. The staff around Rainbow's End are not only cleaning the surfaces, but they're cleaning all of the toys involved in games as well. There's no shortage of staff around the park, and around 50% of them are cleaning at any given time. We see lots of staff cleaning everything that you can touch. Surfaces, banisters, handrails, constantly out there, and it's incredibly visible. Whenever there's been live entertainment around the park, we've seen that combined with voice messages around keeping physically distant and washing your hands.
Andrew, you've got to do the stratosphere.
No. The staff here are all wearing PPE. It is the first venue that we've been to where we've seen compulsory PPE for visitor-facing staff. One thing that's clear is that the Rainbow's End team have not lost their appetite for a good time. A lot of dancing and a lot of laughs everywhere. One of the things about coming to a theme park is that you expect to spend a good portion of your day waiting in a queue. And I've never been to Rainbow's End in a day that I can just waltz on into any ride I like, and sometimes have the whole ride to myself. So if you like to have a good time, now is definitely the time to come out and play at Rainbow's End. What's the best thing about coming back to Level 2?
So we opened the park last Friday, and it was just so lovely. At 10 o'clock when the park opened and the doors opened, we just heard the kids coming in and their laughs, and Beautiful. It was so lovely. And then within 5 minutes we heard their screams as they were going down the Fairfall and on the rides, and it was just actually made us feel quite emotional that we were back, and we were back to giving joy and having all the kids there.
The land lovely. Of screams.
Yeah.
And what sort of measures have you put in place?
So we've been planning for a reopening since we went into lockdown. So we've had sort of 7 or 8 weeks to get ready to do this, and we've just put huge amounts of stuff into it. So while we're always about safety, this is just another aspect to that. So we've been looking at everything in terms of the social distancing, lots and lots of signage to go with it, gallons of hand sanitizer, sanitising on the ride, sanitising in all the communal areas and tables, also in the kitchens, and we've also been looking at what features we can offer in the park safely, and some that we don't, that we've decided to just hold for now.
There's a couple of experiences that are shut down at the moment. The Kids Kingdom?
Yes, so under Level 2, just as we're getting back to a little bit closer to normal, we've closed Kids Kingdom for the under 8s, and we've closed our Play Lab, which is our gaming area, just because we want to make sure that we're really safe and that our guests feel really good about this as well. So concentrating on the main park and getting that really, really fun.
Staff are wearing full PPE, which is fantastic. But one of the few venues that we've been to in Auckland where that's been compulsory.
There's a lot of talk about PPE and the masks and the gloves as to should we, shouldn't we, and the likes. But for us, we don't take any chances. So it's something that we can do to make it just a little bit more safer. We always will, and that was our call right up front, that we will always put the PPE on. And our team have absolutely got on board that straight away. There's been no concerns, no complaints or anything like that. It's just that's the way we do things, because it's about following the best procedures that we can, but also making sure our guests feel really safe as well.
And you've gone cashless as well. I imagine that it's going to be perhaps one of the things that stays with you.
There's lots of things that are changing, and going cashless is one thing that is working really well for now. We have had cash in the past when we've had lots of little kids, but it's working really well, and guests seem to be really on board with it. So I actually imagine that the world's going to be changing in a lot of ways, and that's just one of them.
So you've switched to online bookings. Are you seeing changes in the way people book to come? Are they booking further out or closer to the time than they used to?
So going to the online booking was something which we did because it's really easy for us to manage the contact tracing as a part of that. And guests have been really on board with it. There have been a few that have needed a little bit of help, but that's okay because we're here to help them. They can either call in and we can help them over the phone or do it here. It's a great way for guests to really manage themselves, because it's a good way to share information up front, make sure they come to the park really ready to have a great day, and we'll see how that continues.
One of the questions I know our friends in the US parks were really interested in was bag checks, because that's a really hard thing to do without touch. How are your staff navigating the sort of closeness that you need to check a bag?
We implemented bag checks at the park about 18 months ago, and it's something which we see is really important, and so we wanted to continue it. So we just needed to be mindful of how we did that, and that's mainly about, it's a visual check and asking the guests to help with, check things and make sure that we've got a clear view to the bottom.
Would perhaps the lack of travel in a post-COVID world help boost some of those numbers for people who might otherwise head overseas for their thrills?
We really want those local guests and local customers to come in, so we're very much hoping that people are going to come and enjoy the park, not just once like an international guest would, but come back 2 or 3 times a year, and that's why we have seasonal events, and we're really going to focus on those seasonal events to give our local customers a reason to keep coming back.
At the moment there are some limitations for some venues around 100 capacity and group sizes limited to 10. How are you interpreting those rules, or which ones apply to you as a park?
We're classed as a public venue, and public venues don't have a capacity cap. What we do have to do is make sure we adhere to all the Ministry of Health guidelines around contact tracing and social distancing and things like that. So on a Saturday we might get around 2,500 people in the park, but we're on 7.5 acres, so we're going to cap that at 40%. So we'll have about 1,000 people in the park on a Saturday, just to make sure that we can get that right, and we'll just see how that progresses. But the big thing is to make sure that we've got all the social distancing happening, and also not too long queues happening.
Are there any specific hygiene procedures that you're taking around rides?
Firstly, we start with our staff being in full PPE, because we do need to do the harness checking, make sure that guests are safe. So that's there. We're also asking people to use hand sanitizer as they enter the queue, as they get on the ride, and as they exit the ride. And then the rides themselves, we're using a disinfectant spray, so it means that we can get and disinfect the rides really quickly by using a disinfectant that's a hospital grade and that will do that job for us.
We're very lucky in New Zealand because we're opening up ahead of a lot of other places overseas. What would be your advice to people who are going to follow in our footsteps and open their doors again soon?
So I think the fact that we can open is great, and that's a huge responsibility that we have to make sure that we're doing it well and we're doing it responsibly, and also making sure that our guests feel safe and feel good about coming out. So when we got to open, and I hope with other teams when they get to open as well, take that responsibility really seriously. We want to make sure that people feel good and feel safe, and that we're doing everything right to make sure that we're going forwards and not backwards.
One of the things that's been really stand out for us here today is just seeing how happy your staff are. Everybody is singing, dancing, smiling, high-fiving. It is just great to see everybody back enjoying their jobs. What have been the things that have helped you cultivate that culture?
We were just so pleased to get back and to be able to open again. But for us, it was really important as we went into lockdown that we just maintain the contact and communication with our staff. So we were constantly on the phone to them. We were doing group chats, and keeping them informed with what was happening and what we were doing next, so that as we progressed through this, people were still connected with us and feeling really good. But then one of the really cool things was, as we came back and got to level 3, we actually brought everybody back on site and helped to get the park ready to open. So even somebody that might be in catering or might be in the attractions team came back and were just helping us get this park ready and spotless and really good. So it was a great way for the team to sort of build together, and then we were all here for when the park reopened and got to see the joy of that.
Here in the retail store, we can see some great signage as well, encouraging guests to only touch what they intend to buy. Rainbow's End team, we have had an incredible day out here. Thank you so much for having us. An amazing job on all of the health and safety measures. We had a great experience, and to everybody out there who's thinking about coming, come on over and enjoy the space at Rainbow's End.